my support staff gave me kind of the prescription, right? All the things that were like kind of the basics, but they never told me like everybody's different, right? So I would follow the rules, and I would do as told. So really my struggle was I really don't let myself be restricted in my love of life. In the beginning, they said you have to eat the same thing every day at the same time, every day, the same exercise every day. And that just wasn't working for me. So I did what I wanted to do. And that's why I think I saw the fluctuations because I couldn't explain it. And I wasn't in that rigor that was prescribed to me from my day-to-day lifestyle.
All right, we have our interview with Deb. Deb's going to share a bit about her story and tell us what she learned through the program working with us and what she was able to accomplish. So I'm going to let her hop in here and we'll jump in and get started. All right. Well, I am so excited to chat with you, Deb, because we've got a fun journey to walk through. Obviously, I know a lot more than anybody watching so far because we've been working together, but to give them maybe some, we'll catch them up to speed. Tell us a bit about your journey with diabetes. Like, when were you diagnosed? Do you use a
Sure.
pump for MDI? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And I'm excited to be here as well. So I was diagnosed in 1981, so 17 years old. Kind of a weird time to be diagnosed, I think, going through high school and all that stuff. But I was on shots. It was 2 shots a day, the long acting, and then actually it must have been multiple shots because I must have taken shots for meals and things like that. It's a long time ago. I don't remember. But now in early 2000s, I started on the pump. And then I got a CGM probably 5 or 6 years later. So right now I'm on a tandem T-Slim pump in the Dexcom G7.
So on a pump, and yeah, you've certainly had opportunity to get used to diabetes. I don't know if you ever fully get used to it, if
Yeah.
I'm being
Yeah.
transparent. But I'm curious because obviously we've now worked together and gone through a lot of these different pieces of the blood sugar formulas. But what was maybe the hardest part before working with us? Like, were there any scary
Yeah.
moments or frustration? What was the biggest, most difficult
Um,
part?
yeah, so I mean, my support staff gave me kind of the prescription, right? 15 grams per unit for carb correction, 50 points for a correction dose, all the things that were like kind of the basics, but they never told me like everybody's different, right? So really I would follow the rules, and I would do as told, and I would see wild fluctuations. I thought I was doing the same thing every day and seeing different results. So I'd see highs then the next time I have lows, I would exercise and either go high or go low or just be fine, right? And so there was really no explanation, rhyme or reason to any of it. And my husband's like, well, why are you high? I'm like, well, because I'm a diabetic. Why are you low? Well, because I'm a diabetic. That's the only answer I could come up with, right? It was the only thing I could come up with. I'm a diabetic. That's the way it is. And
Right.
so really my struggle was I really don't let myself be restricted in my love of life and my actions and my activities and even what I eat. I want to eat what I want. I want to do what I want when I want. And in the beginning, they said you have to eat the same thing every day at the same time, every day, the same exercise every day. And that just wasn't working for me. So I did what I wanted to do. And that's why I think I saw the fluctuations because I couldn't explain it. And I wasn't in that rigor that was prescribed to me from my day-to-day lifestyle. So again, my excitement of meeting you and joining the group was I call that the secret decoder ring, right? Understanding diabetes and what's going on behind the scenes and why my body's acting the way it is. And I'm learning a lot. And I know my journey's not over, but I've come a long way even the last 2 months since we started.
Love that. Well, and actually, can you maybe explain further what you mean by the secret decoder ring? That's interesting.
Well, again, the reason behind the high, the reason behind the low, the reason behind having a stable blood sugar. Um, Really, the secret decoder rings for me were two. One was that pre-bolus and understanding that it's just not 15 minutes before you eat or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's depending on how high your blood sugar is, depending on what you're about to eat, and really understanding my body, right? And what my body is going to do as a diabetic when I do different things, and how I can react to use the word control. To me is difficult because they say your diabetes is in control or not, but it's more controlling the outcome than controlling my diabetes, right? And that's the empowering part of the program because I can control the outcomes. And then another part of the secret decoder ring is exercise. Like, why is my blood sugar high? I'm exercising. It should always go low, right? And sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. Why? So that's a big, big like aha moment for me for taking care of myself and really being more free like I expect to be.
Love those aha moments, the light bulb moments,
Yeah,
right? Where it's like, oh,
yeah,
it makes sense.
yeah, yes.
Well, and
That's
actually,
me.
on that note of things making sense or not, right? So before working with us, we said there was a lot of why is it high? Because I'm diabetic, I guess, right? Why is it low?
Yeah,
I think that's just because it's diabetes. So
yeah.
what did it? Because I think this resonates with a lot of people watching. What did it feel like when it was more mysterious? When it seemed like there was no rhyme or reason?
Well, I was mad and frustrated, and just moments where I use this like kind of I don't care mantra, or used to. Like I don't care. It's going to be high, and just that's the way it is. And I would actually accept the fact that my blood sugar was high for sometimes days on end.
Hmm.
Because I would think I'm helpless. I would think, okay, I took insulin, it didn't go down. I took more insulin, it didn't go down. Oh, well, you know what I mean? So that feeling of helplessness, I think, was the worst part of it, and frustration and anger underneath it.
I mean this genuinely, and not as I can imagine how this might come across almost as an insult, but I imagine at least how I was as a teenager, where if I couldn't control something or if I didn't know the outcomes, I would act as if I didn't care to play it
Yeah,
cool, where I was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
it doesn't matter anyways, When
yeah,
you're out of control with blood sugars, it almost is beneficial to say, well, I can't do anything about it, I don't think so. Oh well,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
So
it's kind of giving up, to be honest, because I didn't have any answers, right?
yeah,
And so now I have answers. And
yeah.
I don't have all the answers, but I have a lot of answers.
Well, and tell me a little bit about that. So obviously things have improved, and we'll talk about that in a second. But
Sure.
when did you know it was working? Was there a moment where you're like, oh, this is actually working for me?
Well, the results are right in front of me. So if I get a high and I do, as we discussed in our lessons, and drink some water and take a walk or jump on my erg and do some rowing and stuff like that, and it goes down within 10 minutes, I'm like, wow, that's magic. Because it used to be hours or days or
Mhm.
whatever, So the actual results were
Hmm.
really what hit me. This is real, and it's working, and now I can actually start predicting what's going to happen. And really, I mean, I don't know if you're going to get into this, but my favorite part of the program was the adapters formula. So prior to doing that, you understand how your blood sugar is going to act when you do anaerobic exercise, and how your blood sugar is going to act when you do aerobic exercise.
Mhm.
I got in reverse, but you understand.
Yeah.
And so I go low for aerobic, I go high for anaerobic, and sometimes I think rowing on my rowing machine is very boring. It's awesome on the lake, but it's boring. So I play, and I'm like, okay, my blood sugar's 110. I want to see if it can go up. So I try to make it go up by doing really intense exercise, and I watch it go up, and I'm like, okay, let's make it go down. And that's like fun. It'll keep me on that machine all winter until the lake unfreezes. So
Oh, there you go. So it makes
yeah,
exercise more fun because it's kind of like a
yeah,
video game. Oh,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
interesting.
Yeah. So if
Yeah.
I can say the outcome I want it to go up and it does go up, I mean, there's no other reward other than that.
Yeah. Well, the manipulation of blood sugars, I think that was my personal biggest light bulb moment was like, wait, I can make it do what I want it to.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was just like, it blew my mind. So I
yeah,
love that. So, okay, but before, because obviously people even listening to this are like, predicting your blood sugars, manipulating it, that sounds like crazy talk, right?
yeah,
It sounds like a magic pill almost, like it's too good to be
yeah.
true.
Or
So,
a secret decoder ring.
yeah, exactly. I'm curious, what made you take a chance on working with some strange guy on the internet talking about blood sugar formulas? What was that moment for you?
Yeah, I don't even know how I found you, but it was definitely on Facebook somehow. And, I watched some of the podcasts on YouTube, the part of my pancreas, and I'm like, well, a lot of this makes sense. And, my blood sugar, I mean, I talk about the I don't care moments, but my blood sugars were never outrageous, right? I was always in the low 80% range. I was always in the sixes for my A1C. So it wasn't bad. And I
Mhm.
was getting the pat on the head from the doctor saying, you're doing great, keep doing what you're doing. But I'm
Right.
like, that doesn't help when I'm 300 for a day, it
Mm.
just doesn't sit right with me. So I wasn't accepting that. And when I read some of your posts, but I also saw some of your videos, um, I was like, I think there's something here. I mean, number one, this guy's living with T1D, and all the doctors I'm talking to aren't, so they don't get it. But it looked like you were going through a journey and you actually figured it out
Mm.
by, number one, experimenting on yourself, but doing a lot of research and understanding there is like some basis for your approach, right? So understanding that you had a lot of research behind you and you actually had life experience made me at least step through the door to say, okay, let's see if this is for me. And then we had a couple of conversations and I'm like, let's try this out. And I did.
Well, I'm glad you did, because it's been fun watching you just step through all
Yeah.
these different stages of the program and progress, and especially as a fellow rower. And very few of
Yeah.
us out there. So, but I'd love to hear. Maybe you can share the beginning. What you just did. Time and range. You're in 80s, right? You were already in
Mhm.
the sixes. So where are we at now? What
Uh-huh.
benefits have you seen? Whether it's the blood sugars themselves, or maybe it's flexibility of lifestyle, predictability. What stands
Yeah.
out as your outcomes?
So one of the biggest improvements I've seen is when I do go high, it's within half hour, I start to come down, which
Mm,
is in tremendous improvement. My time in range, I've had many over 90%.
mm,
And I actually had a string of 3 days over 90%. And that's like,
mm.
I've never had over 90% time in range before. So this is really exciting. My goal is to have 100% and maybe a couple days of 100%. I know you'll never have it forever, but it's a cool goal. I
Mhm.
do think my A1C might go a little up because I have zero urgent lows in the
Wow.
last week. Zero. When
Oh,
I was
amazing.
always going super high and then crashing because I was overcorrecting, super high and then crashing because I was overcorrecting,
Right.
zero urgent highs. So I expect maybe my A1C might go up, but I'm
Mm.
okay with that because I'm not endangering my life. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's amazing. I mean, and I think that's a really important distinction to make, that you go to the doctor's office and they're like, oh, your A1C went up. That's bad, right?
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
whoa, whoa, whoa. No, that's a good thing because of the data, right? And that's what we're
yes,
looking at, is the underlying data, that you're not going low, which means your average is a little bit higher. And that's actually somehow a good thing,
okay,
right? But we know
yeah,
it's
yeah,
good. So
yeah,
that's amazing. No urgent
yeah.
lows. So without or outside of that, then I know that you've tried to fix blood sugars for a long time, and eventually did jump in with us, and things are awesome now. But what would you tell someone who is either on the fence of working with us, because stranger on the internet, right? Or maybe they're just in a similar spot to where you were at. What words would you have for them?
Yeah, I would say don't settle for just okay, right? We have a lot of opportunity in our lives. We have a lot of freedom in front of us. We don't have a prescribed outcome. Everybody has the same prescribed outcome, of course, but the complications aren't a given, or at least we can extend, a healthy life as far as we can. So if that resonates with you, and if you want to explore how you can actually influence your own diabetes by not just being, I'm going to use the word victim a little bit, and I don't
Mhm.
mean to be offensive, but taking a shot and hoping it worked to
Right.
me is not as empowering as being able to change your blood sugar outcomes and be able to address lows before you go, urgent low, or address highs before you sit there for a day or two or three or whatever.
Mhm.
So I think if you really want to you know, get more freedom and more confidence in how to control your diabetes and live your life to the fullest because, you know, why not? I mean, we have every entitlement to having a free life as everybody else. So
Yeah.
go for it. You know,
Love that. Yeah, absolutely right. There are tools available to us, and now it becomes a choice. So if you continue to be complacent, then uh, that's a victim mentality,
yeah.
right?
I was thinking about this morning. I was like, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Oh, I love that one.
So if you want change, something's got to change.
Hmm.
And, you know, making that step forward to say, okay, I'm ready to change is profound and scary.
Hmm.
Someone I admire very much say, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough.
Yeah.
And that is one way I live my life for sure.
Love that. And I would say exactly what you just said. Change is uncomfortable. I can't think of a single change that was like, oh, this is easy. It's the natural next step.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
usually like, oh gosh, I hope this works, or
yeah,
I'm risking something, but that's what
yeah,
makes it worth it.
yeah.
Big risk, big reward. So love
And
that.
I, yeah, and I think another piece of peace of mind that I'm getting is if I expect outcome A and I get outcome C, I do have the tools to figure out why. And
Mm,
that's big too, right? You know, it's not always 100%. I'm going to hit 120 as my blood sugar and I'm like 190. Why? I do have the tools to figure out why. And that's big.
and
That's a
doing
big,
that
big
detective
change.
work. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. Right. Being able to say, I either know what's wrong or I know how to find out what's wrong so I can fix it for next time.
exactly. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
huge. Well,
And
and
it,
now, I mean, we're kind of getting into some fun sides of this. So I'll ask you before we wrap up, what are some things that either you were hoping to share that you think would be useful for someone to hear that you picked up from the program, or maybe a golden nugget of insight?
I think, you know, the underlying, you know, everybody talks about the nutrition and the diet and stuff like that. And I kind of always dismissed it as, you know, I'm not interested because I do want to eat what I want when I want and all that.
Right.
But the golden nugget is you still need to know what you eat. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And the composition of your macronutrients, whether it's carbs or fat or protein, and understand that it's just not just the carbs, right? So understanding that is really profound, and it's a golden nugget that's embedded in all the golden nuggets that we've learned in the program. In the exercise part, I think that was, to me, I'm almost a life changer. I talked about rowing, but my husband and I hike. We go cross country skiing. I mean, I'm very active, and I'm low, I'm high, I'm low, I'm high. It's just it was, you know, it's so frustrating. But now I'm walking into this world where I can deal with it, and I actually can be proactive, and I actually can understand, okay, I'm going to go cross country skiing. I haven't done it all year. My body might act weird. Let's see how it does. Right. And then build upon that and build upon that. But I have the tools to kind of adapt and move forward.
Love that. Something you mentioned earlier about the formulas and getting pieces set up and being around the right groups. It's something I'll mention for everybody watching because I think this is maybe the same path you took. Is for anybody watching, we have resources that explain the basics of what formulas are, how blood sugar formulas work, and you can decide for yourself if it's something that would be beneficial for you because admittedly they're not for everybody. So for anybody watching, we have a free training that compiles a lot of that info at diabetesinaction.com. And I think Deb's a great example of that. Diabetes in action, cross
Oh
country
yeah,
skiing, eat what you want, going to concerts, and doing
yeah,
so while rocking the blood sugars. So yeah,
yeah.
really proud of you. I mean, obviously I can share all the right tips in the world, but you were the one that
Real.
implemented Deb. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm living proof, as many of the folks are in our tribe, in our groups. And I do want to say that you mentioned the concerts. Last year, I had a low it was so bad. My husband was going to bring me to the doctors, and it was when we were going to the concerts and stuff like that. And
yeah.
it, you know, I didn't know why, I didn't know how, I didn't know what to do other than just shove the sugar down and hope for the best. But, you know, things like that, I really don't expect they're going to happen or if they do, maybe not as dramatically and as serious, and being not at home and having to the emergency room is not an ideal place to be, as you know. And and yeah, I'm just excited. I mean, I'm about to enter a new phase of my life, being almost retired. And when I am retired, my activity level is going to go even higher because we're just going to keep playing. You know,
Love that.
I expect to play every day of my life going forward, or once I retire anyway. And yeah, now I can do it with confidence.
That's huge. I think that you just summed up the word hope. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's such a beautiful thing. And I didn't realize that I had a similar experience until you said that. I used to have urgent lows multiple times a week with
yeah,
daily lows. And now, I mean, I go low like maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, it's because of what you were talking about, where you know how to assess situations and fix things. And my goodness, you're empowered. And
yeah.
it
Empowered
looks
is the word.
it
Yeah.
looks good on you.
I have for
uh,
sure.
yeah, I'm
Yeah, I mean,
so happy.
I, 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 I can't express enough my gratitude for your program, as well as your coaching and your advice and your support, and just being there, just knowing that you're, kind of an email away or a meeting away or anything like that. It's profound. Yeah. And it's only been 2 months, and I can't imagine what the next 6 months will be like, because it's not over, right? It's always a journey, and it's never ending till it ends. And
Yeah,
yeah,
very true. No, I'm honored to have played a small role in part of your journey. And again, I'll say it, you're the one that implemented. And I'm so proud of you for every
thank you.
step of the way that you've pushed and continued to seek progress. So,
Yeah,
really excited for you, Deb. And I want to say thank you for sharing your time, your insight, your stories. I know that a lot of people are going to hear this and maybe for the first time feel like there is hope for a better life
yeah.
with type 1
There's
diabetes.
hope. There's hope. You don't have to just be a victim of your blood sugar and a victim of your insulin.
Hmm.
Um, you can understand it, and understanding is incredible, right? Then
Absolutely.
you could do something different.
That true understanding yields the ability to adapt to any
Yeah,
situation, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Amazing. Well, Deb, you're awesome. Can't
yeah,
wait to see, like you said, what the future holds. The next 6 months, continued growth. Uh,
yeah,
Everybody else, thanks for hanging out with us. Again, that place you can go that will kind of introduce you to what Deb's been talking about is diabetesinaction.com. Go check it out, take some notes, see if it's helpful. And thanks for hanging out. We'll see you
yeah.
guys
Thank
next
you.
one.
Hope
Deb,
to see you guys.
and keep up the fight as always.
Yeah.